G-CO.B.8 finally gets to something that you probably recognize from previous times teaching this, of course. This is where we look at the criteria for congruence in triangles. So the actual objective says, explain how the criteria for triangle congruence follow from the definition of congruence. In other words, this idea of why does side, 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 side angle, side angle, side angle, and so on work. A good way to establish that is in the methodology of transformations. To have students create based off of a particular criteria and then to map theirs onto others to test it. Now that's a little informal. There are more formal ways of doing it, of course. Fairly technical, and they have always been a little technical, but again can be done in a nice way to still connect us to congruence through mapping. One thing I guess I will say here, again, you want to establish the ones that do, the ones that don't work, AA being one that does not work. The one that we often kind of want to talk about is angle side side, and it is one of its forms is HL, and so we typically introduce that. I guess this is where I differ from maybe a lot of other teachers. I introduce angle side side here and look at its cases and establish the ones that do establish congruence and the ones that don't. And so I use angle side side where side 2 is greater than side 1. I'm not going to explain all that right now, but I feel that especially in the honors class, not so much in the regular, but in the honors class, you're eventually going to get to the law of sines and the law of cosines, and knowing those cases earlier will make that a much easier experience. What's the big idea? It's all about triangle congruence, of course, the criteria that work and the ones that don't work. What are the connections, of course, is to congruence, to triangles, to all those things. Traps and pitfalls. I guess it's always about labeling. Students struggle to label when they get, we often get that question that, so here's a situation. A student has, and they say to them, let's see, 3 here. They say, oh, I want to label this, is this side angle, side angle, side angle, and so on. You and I look at this and know exactly that it's side angle, side, side angle, side. Some students want to go around this way and say it's side, side angle, things like that. They, of course, need to know that you're either going to name it by the next angle or the next side. And if you can't, then you can't go that way. You've got to go the other way around the triangle. Naming conventions is tricky. Establishing angle side side criteria is a little tricky for sure. Lots of good practice here leads us to good proof, and probably much like the 2-column proofs you've done for most of your teaching career.